You hear it all the time, right? I'm so OCD about my email inbox. Or you're so OCD about how you line up your shoes. But what if casually throwing that term around kind of misses the point and actually minimizes a truly debilitating neurological condition? Today, we're going to unpack the real truth about obsessive-compulsive disorder. We're going to separate the science from the stereotypes to get to the bottom of what OCD really is, and just as importantly, what it isn't.
Yeah, this one. We've all heard it. Maybe we've even said it ourselves. But is loving a clean desk really the same thing as a clinical disorder that can completely take over someone's life? Well, the science says not even close. It's way, way more complex. In fact, what most people think of as OCD, it's often a totally different condition.
And here it is. This is the first huge distinction we have to make. OCD is not OCPD, or Obsessive-Compulsive Personality Disorder. You see, with OCD, the thoughts are intrusive, they're unwanted, they feel like a terrifying home invasion in your own mind. But with OCPD, the person often sees their own rigidity, their perfectionism, as a good thing. It aligns with their values, it's just part of who they are. One feels like you're in a prison, the other feels more like a preference.
So, if it's not just about being neat, what is it really about? Clinically, OCD is this painful cycle. It's driven by two main things that just feed on each other: obsessions and compulsions.
Okay, first up, obsessions. And no, these are not your everyday worries. These are totally unwelcome, intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that just storm your mind over and over again, and they cause a massive amount of distress. The absolute key here is that the person does not want these thoughts. It feels like an attack from inside your own head, something that is happening to you, not something you're doing.
So you've got this overwhelming anxiety from the obsession, and it creates this desperate, powerful urge to do something, anything. And that something is the compulsion. It can be a behavior or even a mental act that a person feels literally forced to do just to get rid of that awful feeling. But here's the trap. Any relief it brings is gone in a flash, and it comes at a huge cost.
This quote from Andrew Huberman just nails it. It perfectly captures that vicious cycle. Think about it. When you scratch a normal itch, that goes away, right? Relief. But with OCD, scratching that itch with a compulsion only makes the itch come back stronger. That little moment of relief accidentally teaches your brain, hey, that ritual worked. And by doing that, you strengthen the whole connection, making the obsession even more powerful the next time it shows up. You're basically caught in a self-feeding loop.
And make no mistake, this is not some rare, fringe disorder we're talking about. Current estimates suggest that up to 4% of us suffer from clinical OCD. Just let that sink in for a second. That's 1 in every 25 people. That's actually more common than schizophrenia and bipolar disorder put together. And, because of all the shame and the misunderstanding around it, experts think the real number is probably a lot higher.
So what is actually going on up in the brain to create this relentless cycle? Well, neuroscientists have zeroed in on a specific brain circuit that basically gets stuck on repeat, like a scratched record. Let's trace that path.
So it all kicks off in the cortex, the brain's thinking center, where an intrusive thought just pops up. But instead of fading away like normal, it trips an alarm in the thalamus, the brain's sensory gatekeeper, which gets stuck on this threat. This kicks the striatum, which is kind of like your brain's action center, into overdrive. It screams this powerful go signal to perform that compulsion. So you do it, and for a split second, you feel relief. And that relief is like a reward that tells the entire circuit, hey, that worked, let's do it again, wiring that loop even deeper into your brain.
Now, these stuck loops tend to show up in a few common ways. You have the checkers, who feel this overwhelming need to check the stove or the locks or an email again and again and again. You have repetition, which was famously embodied by Joey Ramone of the Ramones, who reportedly had to walk up and down a flight of stairs multiple times before he could move on. And then you have obsessions with order, this intense need for perfect symmetry, a fear of contamination, or just that deeply disturbing feeling that something isn't. And I want to be absolutely clear about this. This is not a personality quirk. The toll this relentless cycle takes is just immense. In fact, the World Health Organization has ranked OCD as the 7th most debilitating illness of any kind that's physical or mental in terms of lost income and just decreased quality of life. The 7th. That puts its global impact right up there with major conditions like cancer and asthma. It is a profound, profound level of suffering. But here is the good news. That cycle, it can be broken. The most effective treatments, though, they work in a way that might seem completely backward at first. And this is it. This is the central kind of mind-mending paradox of treating OCD. Normally, when you feel anxious, what's your first instinct? To make it stop, right? We avoid the thing that's making us uncomfortable. But the most effective OCD therapy, it flips that completely on its head. The goal isn't to feel better right now. The goal is to learn how to tolerate feeling bad. The gold standard treatment that does this is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, called exposure and response prevention. You can think of it as a powerful 1-2 punch. First, you've got exposure. You systematically, gradually face the thoughts and situations that trigger your anxiety. And then comes the really hard part, response prevention. You make a conscious choice not to do the compulsive ritual.
And yeah, as this quote makes crystal clear, this is incredibly hard work. It's about intentionally walking into that storm of anxiety and teaching your brain, see, I can handle this. By resisting the urge to do the compulsion, you're proving to your brain that its catastrophic prediction was a false alarm. And by doing that over and over, just sitting with that discomfort, you slowly but surely unwire that faulty circuit. So if this therapy, ERP, is so effective, what does the path to relief actually look like for most people? Well, the data shows a pretty concerning gap between what we know works and what people are actually receiving.
So here's the tragic reality of it. We have this incredibly powerful tool, ERP. But most people who have OCD, they never even get access to it. And for the few who do go looking for help, the first-line treatment they're usually given isn't this specialized therapy. It's a prescription for medication. And this is exactly why that treatment gap is so important. A landmark study from 2005 put these different approaches head-to-head. A placebo, not surprisingly, did very little. SSRI medications, which are the most common treatment, they did provide a pretty significant reduction in symptoms. But the results for cognitive behavioral therapy, well, they were in a completely different league. It showed by far the greatest reduction in OCD symptoms. It wasn't even close.
But the message here isn't that medication is bad. Not at all. It's that this isn't an either-or choice. For a lot of people, especially those who are already on medication but still struggling, adding CBT into their treatment can be the absolute key that unlocks real, significant improvement. Combining these tools often offers the most powerful path to relief. And that really just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The struggle with OCD feels like being trapped by anxiety, completely cornered by it. But maybe the true path to freedom, to getting unstuck, isn't about finding an escape hatch. Maybe it's about discovering that you have the strength to walk right through the heart of the storm and come out on the other side.